Hi, this is the Hidden You. This is James Goldberg, and this is lesson number 10. And in lesson 10, we are looking at more control techniques. Now, the first control technique I want to talk about is the scarcity principle. Now, the scarcity principle is one of the most effective ways of appealing to one of our most primitive instincts. And one of our most primitive instincts is never to run out of anything, as nobody wants to suffer. Now, TV and online advertising take advantage of this by showing us ads where we are told we have to act fast to get this amazing deal. Stocks are really low, strictly first come first served, or this offer ends midnight tonight, etc, etc. Now, you've probably seen those ads yourself, so you can see that the scarcity principle is being used on yourself there. So they show the problem and they give us a solution. So our brains release a chemical called dopamine, which controls our reward and pleasure centers, as this triggers our impulses to buy what we are seeing. So next time when you see an ad on the TV, have a look at this, and if it's got the scarcity principle in there, and you'll see how they're using that against you. And often what they do, they show you the problem and then they give you a solution and tell you, look, you've only got a limited time to buy this, and it prompts you to probably want to buy that particular item. Now, also as well, I'm going to show you some online examples as well, because the internet is suddenly caught on to the scarcity principle. So if you ever go on a hotel chain, or if you go onto one of these compare sites where you see hotels and you're comparing different prices of hotels, what they do, they look at things like where there's 3 people looking at this hotel, or there's been 12 people already booked at this hotel today. Again, what that's doing is trying to make this seem very, very scarce. And also as well, some sites, what they will actually do, they will put some items out of stock, just to show that the scarcity principle, they're not just making it up. So sometimes, even though they might still have stuff in stock, they'll show it out of stock at times, just to prompt you to buy something else, because obviously then you think, well, this site is really, really popular, I don't want to miss out. And also as well, the biggest site on the planet is Amazon, and these are really, really clever at what they do here. Amazon will make things, well, they'll say there's only 2 left in stock. eBay started doing it as well. So if you ever go onto eBay, you'll look at items and they'll say that this is the last one remaining. And that what that probably does is prompt you to actually go and buy something. So it's very, very clever what they do. Now, I'm going to give you an everyday typical scarcity scenario. Let's say that we're selling a car and we have advertised it in a trade magazine. Now, we're probably selling our car for $10,000. Let's say we're marketing it for $10,000, and we get somebody who comes along and wants to have a look at it. Now, we're in control of this situation, because what we have to do is put into the mindset here of not thinking of other things which I've showed you, but we need to be in control here. So we might get lowball. So somebody might say, you know, this is a nice car, but I'm only going to offer you $8,000 as opposed to $10,000. And what you should do at that point is always reject that offer, because if you say, well, okay, I'll accept 8,000, then they've got a bargain. So what you want to do then is put it back onto the potential buyer and say, look, I've had a lot of interest in this vehicle. It's only just been advertised, and I've actually got somebody coming back tomorrow for a second viewing. So what you're actually doing here is putting the emphasis back on the person who's looking to buy and preying on their desire not to lose out. So we're kind of reversing the scarcity principle onto them. And you probably won't get the $10,000, but you'll probably get higher. So you say to them, like, okay, well, I'm not going to accept 8, and I've already got people coming around. You're going to have to up your offer. What's the best you can do? Then they'll probably come up a little bit. And then at that point, you can say, well, okay, if it's cash, then I'll take it. So that's an everyday scenario which you can actually take control of that particular situation. Another way to use scarcity principle is by telling people your time is in short supply. Now, people don't like losing out on things if people haven't got time. So people are more likely to make a decision on something if they think your time is more precious to you, because they don't want to miss out. They want to have your time. Now, in a relationship scenario, you've probably heard of the expression play hard to get. Again, if a person's been chasing a potential partner and that person suddenly finds that the other person is more elusive, they will wonder why they're not showing more of an interest. So again, what you're doing here is making your time more scarce, and we're using the scarcity principle on other people, which is very, very effective. Now, the other thing which I want to talk to you about is loss aversion. Fear of loss is a more powerful motivator than actually winning, as nobody likes to lose. And if you can master this technique, you will always be able to take control of any situation. More people they're more likely to act if they fear they're actually going to lose something. So always remember, losses loom larger than gains. A dollar we already have is more valuable than a dollar that we don't have. Very, very important. Now, the next thing what I want to talk to you about is what I call the decoy effect. Now, this is a very, very clever ploy. And I often teach a lot of people, online marketers and people like that, because this is a really, really clever way of doing it. And we're kind of using the rule of three again into our selling technique, or if we want to show something, if we want to get a point across, then we give 1, 2, and 3. And so we'll just talk about this to start off with. So we'll have a look at offer A. Now we'll make something up here. So we've got $59. This is a typical way of actually selling things. So $59 will get you an internet only subscription. And this was actually proven in an experiment recently. So we were given offer A, $59, internet only subscription. 68 people chose that. And the second option was $125. So it's an internet and print subscription. And 32 people actually chose this. So the predicted revenue was $8,012, which seems quite reasonable. So, however, if we actually add a third option in there, things get very, very interesting, and I'll show you why. So offer B is this, as in offer A, $59, internet only subscription. Only 16 people chose this. Offer B with the second option was $125 print only subscription, and 0 people chose that. However, when we actually put a third option in there of $125 internet and print subscription, 84 people chose. Now we've got exactly the same offer in offer A and offer B, but all we've done is offer a third choice, and people will always go for the third choice. Now the predicted revenue for exactly the same thing, instead of $8,012, was actually $11,444. So just by adding that extra option there, option 3, then everybody goes for option 3. And it's really, really important. By adding the third option, our brains have calculated that option C is the best value for money, and we subconsciously compared A and B and dismissed these as bad deals. So always, if you're going to do this, and you can do this in everyday life, if you're working, whatever you're doing, you can have this one for free. Always add the best deal, or the deal you would like the customer to take, to position 3. So remember the rule of 3 again. It's working with the rule of 3, and this is basically doing this in a sales environment, but you can do this in everyday life as well. So it's very, very clever, that. Now you've got to be careful here, because if you add too much choice, what we're going to do is make the client's brain work too hard, and they're more likely not to take the deal than if we want them to take one at all. So basically what we're saying here, keep things really, really simple. Use the rule of 3, okay, but don't overcomplicate things. If you've got too many options, if you've got 10 options there and say, right, which one's the best deal, they've got to work out which one it is, and it gets confusing, and in the end they go, oh, do you know what, I'll just leave it for now and I'll have a think about it. So that's what you want to do. So make sure that you make things really, really simple, and keep things really, really simple as well. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about is what we call the underdog effect. Now, this is a very, very powerful way to win an argument, or if you are looking to control a situation, because we all like to support the little guy, and people are more likely to root for an underdog. And I'll give you just some examples of this. Hollywood is a classic example. So we have the Rocky Balboa films. Now Rocky was, he was always the underdog. He was the one who, really worked hard to get where we wanted to, and everybody wanted him to win. And again, Star Wars, one of the biggest film franchise in history. We've got the rebel force fighting the big empire. So again, we are led to believe that the underdogs, we're rooting for the underdogs to win. And also Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump was the underdog. He came from a very, very poor background and rose to big and did some great things in his life. And also Harry Potter, which is again one of the biggest movie franchise out there. Harry Potter started as a complete newbie to all the magic world, and suddenly was the most important one there. And again, we're rooting for the underdog. So the underdog effect is really, really clever. Now, if you can incorporate this into yourself, as being the underdog and showing other people that you've come from nothing and you've done really well, people will like that, because if we can incorporate this, it allows us to control, and we can gain an advantage in any situation, as an underdog is seen as a hard worker and he's conscientious and he's more likely to be trusted, and that's what we want. So if we're taking control of a situation there, if they trust you, see you as an underdog, then that's a good thing. And when you're actually using the underdog effect, use the words even though. Even though it was really hard, I managed to do this. Even though it was a long way, I still managed to get there. So if you use that in the conversation, this is a very, very powerful, persuasive word to other people. Again, we've already covered the magic words earlier on in this series in a previous video. But when you're looking at the underdog effect, even though is a really, really powerful, persuasive couple of words. Now, attention to detail, okay, throughout this course, one of the things I really want to talk to you about is the attention to detail, and the little things make all the difference. It's really, really important. And what you have to do here is practice, practice, practice. Practice these techniques in your everyday life and be positive about things. And I can guarantee that things will start to change for you for the better.